Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
After taking in a deep breath, Duanling Tian suppressed the lust that arose within his heart and left the rear courtyard after his meal. Xiong Quan. After finding Xiong Quan in the front courtyard, Duanling Tian withdrew a brush and with a wave of the hand, started writing down a long and dense list of materials. Gather these materials for me as soon as possible. This is 10 million silver. Take it. At the same time that he passed over the list full of materials to Xiong Quan, Duanling Tian withdrew all the silver within his spatial ring, a total of 10 million silver, and passed it over to Xiong Quan. Yes, young master, Xiong Quan respectfully replied. Then he left the house right after Duanling Tian left for Paladin Academy. When Duanling Tian arrived at the Star Mastermind Department classroom, he noticed that both Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun were already there. You two are really early. Because class hadn't started yet, the three gathered together and whispered to one another in idle chat. Duanling Tian's eyes focused as he asked Xiao Sun, "Right, Xiao Sun, you're a disciple of the Xiao clan. Do you know what cultivation level the so-called Void Stage powerhouses within the Crimson Sky Kingdom are truly at?" According to my knowledge, some Void Stage powerhouses aren't truly in the Void Stage, but are only half a step into the Void Stage, and their cultivation is still at the 9th level of the nascent soul stage. Xiao Sun shook his head and smiled. Others might not know of the answer to your question, but I, however, do know. In truth, the Void Stage powerhouses that are spread thinly within the Crimson Sky Kingdom are largely different compared to the Void Stage powerhouses from the rumors, who are able to control the air and fly. The 18 county governors under the Crimson Sky Kingdom, the guard commanders of the 3 great trading companies in each county, and our Xiao clan's Void Stage powerhouse, they are all only peak 9th level nascent soul martial artists, or in other words, the half a step into the Void Stage that you spoke of. They at most are able to stay in the air for a short period and are unable to truly control the air and fly, Xiao Sun slowly said. Duanling Tian nodded. As expected, it was just as he had thought. Divine Might Marquis Yuan was also this type of existence. There should be some true Void Stage powerhouses that can control the air and fly within the Crimson Sky Kingdom, right? Duanling Tian thought of the old man, the senior marquis of the Divine Might Marquis estate straight away. Although the old man was infected with the dark nether minx poison and all of his origin energy was suppressed, he was a true Void Stage powerhouse, an existence at the Void Prying stage. Of course there are. Xiao Sun nodded, and his eyes emitted a sense of reverence. According to rumors, there are 3 true Void Stage powerhouses within our Crimson Sky Kingdom, one within the Imperial family, one within the Divine Might Marquis estate, and the last one is within the Ghastly Shadow. Ghastly Shadow? Duanling Tian was slightly surprised. He didn't think it was strange that the Imperial family had a true Void Stage powerhouse. After all, that's an existence that stands at the apex of Crimson Sky Kingdom. But that Ghastly Shadow was a mere assassin's organization, and it actually had a true Void Stage powerhouse commanding it as well? After Xiao Sun finished explaining, he added, "Right? It's fine that you two know, but try not to tell anyone. This is the secret suffering of our Crimson Sky Kingdom, and if it wasn't for me annoying my grandfather, he wouldn't have told me." Duanling Tian and Xiao Yu nodded in understanding. How many people would know that the Void Stage powerhouses that are spread about outside are practically all half-step Void Stage martial artists and not true Void Stage powerhouses? Xiao Sun lightly sighed. During the following conversation, Duanling Tian gained an understanding of the distribution of powers within the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Within the Crimson Sky Kingdom, the power that stood at the apex was undoubtedly the Imperial family. The Void Stage powerhouse within the Imperial family was allegedly the strongest existence within the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Even the Ghastly Shadows and Divine Might Marquis estate's Void Stage powerhouses were slightly inferior to him. And thus, the 2 powers merely inferior to the Imperial family were the Ghastly Shadow and the Divine Might Marquis estate, as they each had a true Void Stage powerhouse in command. The 6 great powers that followed after those 3 were the 3 great clans of the Imperial City, the Duan clan, the Xiao clan, and the Su clan, as well as the 3 great trading companies, which included the Violet Tulip Trading Company. There were many half-step Void Stage powerhouses within these 6 powers. After these 6 great powers were the 18 county governor estates under the Crimson Sky Kingdom, as they each had a half-step void stage powerhouse. The Divine Might Marquis Estate. The current Divine Might Marquis Estate is probably inferior to the 3 great clans and 3 great trading companies. Duanling Tian sighed in his heart. He understood that the glory of the Divine Might Marquis Estate stemmed from the Senior Marquis, and the only reason the Divine Might Marquis Estate was still influential now was because the Senior Marquis was still alive. Even though the Senior Marquis was infected with the poison of the Dark Nether Mink, there was still no one who dared to look down on the Divine Might Marquis Estate. It was like a tiger. Even sickly, it was still a tiger, and was far from something a cat or dog could compare to. Of course, if the Senior Marquis were to pass away one day, then the Divine Might Marquis Estate would surely go into a decline, unless another true void stage powerhouse were to appear within the Divine Might Marquis Estate. At some point, the students had all gathered within the class and teacher Sima had arrived. However, during the entire morning, although Duanling Tian was in the classroom, his mind had long ago flown far away. He was constantly thinking about the matter of Xiong Quan gathering the materials and was wondering how Xiong Quan's progress was. I'm now capable of inscribing an inscription that's sufficient to annihilate a nascent soul martial artist. However, I'm 90% certain that it wouldn't pose a threat to a half-step void stage martial artist. There are only a few types of inscriptions that are sufficient to annihilate a half-step void stage powerhouse. However, each of those inscriptions require extremely valuable materials that are difficult to obtain and gather within the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Duanling Tian's train of thought floated as he lightly pondered. Never mind. Why am I thinking so much? Could it be that the 5th Prince and the Duan clan's 2nd Master are capable of ordering a half-step void stage martial artist to deal with me? Duanling Tian laughed in self-ridicule as he thought of this. Although there was quite a number of half-step void stage martial artists within the Imperial family and the Duan clan, they weren't existences that anyone could order around, not to mention be sent to deal with a youth. Overall, today's gains were not bad. At least he gained an understanding of the various powers within the Crimson Sky Kingdom. As the saying goes, know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles with no danger of defeat. At noon, Duanling Tian and the others gathered together for lunch. Humph! Suddenly, among the young men that walked in the cafeteria, the gaze of one of them was incomparably icy cold as it descended upon Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian, this Duanrong seems like he won't let the matter go. You should be careful. Xiao Yu recognized the person as he frowned with a slightly serious expression. Don't worry, it's just a clown, Duanling Tian said indifferently. It's better to be careful. That Duan clan's 2nd Master's wife is famous for being extremely cruel and merciless. There was once a servant girl who called her a fat woman in private and was overheard by her. Guess what happened? Xiao Sun kept them guessing as he spoke to this point. Killed by her? Tian who guessed. No. Xiao Sun shook his head. Okay, stop creating suspense and tell us. What happened in the end? Xiao Yu derided. Xiao Sun's eyes emitted a trace of being unable to bear the thought of what he was about to say. In the end, she ordered people to fill that servant girl's stomach with water. They continuously filled it for a whole day and night, and finally, that servant girl's stomach exploded open. Supposedly, her intestines flowed all over the floor. F***K. Don't talk about this while we eat. Tian, whose face was filled with disgust. Duanling Tian's eyes went cold. The Duan clan's 2nd Master's wife, or in other words, the mother of Duanling Xing. As expected, they were cut from the same cloth. The entire family was so cruel and merciless. Miss Li, he's the one that cut the wrist tendon of the grade 2 student yesterday. Suddenly, a voice full of flattery sounded from afar. Then a young man with a wretched appearance arrived before Duanling Tian's table and extended his finger to point at Su Li. Su Li's gaze turned cold as he said, with a chilly voice, "Scram. Don't misunderstand. I don't have any ill intentions. It's just that Miss Li wants to get to know you." The young man with a wretched face was so scared that his face went pale, as he saw with his own 2 eyes of Su Li's ability and didn't consider himself Su Li's match. Su Li frowned, and then looked towards the area behind the young man with the wretched appearance. A red-clothed girl was walking over while being followed by another girl. It's her. Duan Ling Tian's gaze focused as he saw the red-clothed girl. The person that appeared before him now was none other than the girl who was taught a lesson by him at the restaurant in the outer city that day, the fair Sun County's county governor's daughter who was also the cousin sister of the Crimson Sky Kingdom's imperial family's fifth prince. Enemies really are fated to meet, Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart. However, Duan Ling Tian also noticed that due to the angle, the girl didn't notice him. Moreover, there seemed to only be Su Li within her gaze. Nice to meet you. I'm Tong Li. Tong Li actually put away her usual arrogant expression in front of Su Li, and her face emitted a trace of a faint smile. Su Li. Su Li indifferently nodded to Tong Li. The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth twitched as he saw this. It can't be. This girl is actually interested in Su Li? It's too preposterous. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu, Xiao Sun, and Tian, who all glanced at Su Li with dubious gazes, as they had all noticed the clues. Su Li only glanced at Tong Li before withdrawing his gaze and saying indifferently, "If there's nothing else, don't disturb our meal." Tong Li's pupils constricted, and a trace of fury emerged on her face. Going to flare again? The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth curled into a sneer. As expected, people don't easily change. Su Li, what do you mean by this? This misgreeted you, and it's your honor. You don't not know what's good for you. Tong Li fiercely shouted. She completely flared and returned to her original self. As far as she was concerned, her humbling herself to greet Su Li was already giving Su Li enough face, but Su Li's attitude caused her to be unable to bear it. Her attitude just now, which would seem normal in front of a bystander, was, in her eyes, considered to be humbling herself. Xiao Yu, Xiao Sun, and Tian, who were all stunned. The current Tong Li was like a completely different person than the earlier Tong Li. It was known that women are capricious, but this change seems a little too exaggerated, right? Su Li's face sank and his gaze went slightly cold as he shouted, in a low voice, "Scram! You dare tell me to scram?" Tong Li's expression went grim. Besides that violet-clothed youth who didn't know what was good for him from before, there actually was another that dared shout at her. He was courting death. TSK. Miss Tong, do you want to use your whip to teach Su Li a lesson now? Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed as he gazed at Tong Li with a spurious smile. The voice that entered her ears caused Tong Li to feel like she was waking up from a dream, and when she slightly turned her head to look, only then did she realize that the person at the same table with Su Li was precisely the violet-clothed youth that slapped her tens of times at the restaurant 3 months ago. Instantly, her face went ghastly pale. You are? She never thought that she would encounter that violet-clothed youth here. In her eyes, this youth was a devil. Maybe at ordinary times, she would wish nothing more than to kill the youth and be relieved. However, when the youth really appeared before her, her heart couldn't help itself from trembling. The scene that occurred in the restaurant 3 months ago had long since left a lingering shadow within her heart. What, Miss Tong, are you really that surprised? Duan Ling Tian grinned as if he was greeting a familiar person. You know her? Su Li's brows knitted as he glanced at Duan Ling Tian with a weird gaze. Xiao Yu, Xiao Sun, and Tian, who glanced at Duan Ling Tian as well, as they had all noticed that when this Tong Li saw Duan Ling Tian, it was like a mouse seeing a cat. They vaguely guessed that something they didn't know about had surely happened between Duan Ling Tian and Tong Li. Tong Li took a deep breath. Only now did she realize that this was Paladin Academy and that she was very safe here. Instantly, her eyes went cold as she stared at Duan Ling Tian. This miss has been looking for you for 3 months. Never did I expect you to deliver yourself to me. Let me see where you hide this time. You're dead for sure. I'll get my cousin brother to catch you, and I'll tear you into pieces with my bare hands before burning your bones and scattering your ashes. What? Could it be that Miss Tong thinks that since this is Paladin Academy, I won't dare to touch you? Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed into a line as he heard Tong Li's threats, and a sneer emerged on the corners of his mouth. So what if I think that? Tong Li grunted coldly as her eyes flickered with killing intent. Never in her lifetime would she forget what happened 3 months ago. Only when the violet-clothed youth dies before her will she be able to vent the hatred within her heart. Whoosh! A violet shadow flashed by. Slap! At the same time, the clear sound of a slap echoed out, and Duan Ling Tian, who had left his seat, was seated once more. Since she wanted to tear him into pieces and burn his bones before scattering his ashes, he didn't need to be courteous anymore. You, Tongli, whose face had an extra hand imprint, had an icy cold gaze. This violet-clothed youth actually hit her again, and he even did it in front of so many Paladin Academy students. How would she stand her ground at Paladin Academy in the future? Her gaze was completely enveloped with rage and hatred, and the hand that held her black whip even started to tremble, but she didn't dare to make a move, because she knew that once she did, she would suffer even greater retaliation. Su Li, Xiao Yu, and the others were dumbstruck, as they realized that there seemed to be a deep grudge that was impossible to reconcile between Duan Ling Tian and the red-clothed girl. They had all heard the ruthless things the red-clothed girl said earlier. She actually hated Duan Ling Tian to such a degree. The girl behind Tong Li never imagined that Duan Ling Tian would dare hit Tong Li, and after being dumbstruck for a moment, her face went grim as she looked at Duan Ling Tian and shouted, in a grim voice, "You're dead. Do you know who she is?" "Yes, you're dead. You actually dared to hit Miss Li." The young man with a wretched appearance looked at Duan Ling Tian as if he had seen something unbelievable. "Who she is?" Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled before looking at Tong Li once more. "Isn't it only the fair Sun County's county governor's daughter, the cousin sister of 5th Prince, Miss Tong? I'm right, aren't I?" The fair Sun County's county governor's daughter? 5th Prince's cousin sister? Maybe the Paladin Academy students present didn't pay any attention to the first identity, but the second one was more than enough to make everyone besides Duan Ling Tian experience changes in their expressions. The 5th Prince was a descendant of the imperial family, the son of the current emperor, a status so exalted that not many people in the entire Crimson Sky Kingdom could compare. Xiao Yu, Xiao Sun, and Tian, whose expressions went grim, as they never expected the red-clothed girl had such an identity. She was actually the cousin sister of the 5th Prince. Su Li's brows knitted, and his eyes were suffused with a trace of coldness. You know this misidentity, and you still dared hit this miss?" Tong Li stared at Duan Ling Tian like she was looking at a madman. "If I hadn't hit you just now, would you have let me off?" Duan Ling Tian smiled indifferently. "How could that be possible? This miss will return those gifts you gave me that day 100-fold, 1,000-fold, or even 10,000-fold. Hoping that this miss will let you off is utterly a fool's dream." Tong Li sneered. She felt that Duan Ling Tian was imagining the impossible. In her eyes, Duan Ling Tian was no different from a dead man. "That's it. If you wouldn't have let me off even if I hadn't hit you, then why would I be afraid of you?" The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth curled into a malicious smile. Whoosh! His body flashed out once more. Slap, 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 slap. Clear slapping sounds echoes out time after time, and before long, Tong Li's face became like a pig's head, just like it did 3 months ago. You. The burning pain that came from her face caused Tong Li to be practically numb, but she currently seemed to feel no pain, as she only felt more embarrassed than had ever been before. Her eyes were filled with malice. "I what?" Duan Ling Tian sneered, as an awe-inspiring killing intent focused within his eyes. This Tong Li was on her high horse that day. She was acting as if everyone else was only an ant in front of her. After that, he taught Tong Li a lesson, and he originally thought that she would repent and mend her ways. But the facts proved that his education towards Tong Li that day was a failure. Otherwise, Tong Li wouldn't run up to him and be enraged and threaten to tear him to pieces before burning his bones and scattering his ashes. Since Tong Li had long since hated him to the core, it was no use crying over spilled milk, so why not teach her another lesson? In any case, he never once thought that Tong Li would shake his hand and make peace, so now he decided to be a tad more carefree and do whatever he wanted to do. Detest someone, then beat them. Beat them until they didn't dare be complacent again. Beat them until they didn't dare be arrogant again. Beat them until they didn't dare talk back again. Tong Li inhaled a deep breath and didn't dare speak another word, as she didn't doubt in the slightest that if she were to voice another ruthless remark, this violet-clothed youth would hit her without the slightest hesitation. She chose to endure. Her heart trembled and warped as she noticed the surrounding gazes that looked at her in a strange manner. The hatred in her eyes were practically at its limits. In this lifetime, if she lived, then there would be no violet-clothed youth, and if the violet-clothed youth lived, then she would not. You'll regret it. Tong Li couldn't help herself from leaving a last remark before turning around and leaving, not even daring to look back. Only now did the girl that was originally following behind Tong Li recover from being struck with terror. She briefly glanced at Duanling Tian with eyes filled with terror before leaving to chase after Tong Li. Within the spacious cafeteria, the corner at which Duanling Tian sat was deathly silent. Everyone who didn't know Duanling Tian looked at him with gazes filled with terror. This violet-clothed youth actually was not afraid of even the fifth prince. Who the heck was he? Being stared at by so many people caused Duanling Tian to frown. He coldly swept them with his gaze. Instantly, these people withdrew their gazes and didn't dare look at Duanling Tian again. They couldn't calm the shock in their hearts for a long time. Only then did Duanling Tian take his seat. Duanling Tian, you? Xiao Yu had a bitter smile on his face. He never imagined that Duanling Tian was so bold that he actually even dared to beat the cousin sister of the fifth prince, and even beat her to that extent. For a moment, he didn't even know what to say. Duanling Tian, you're too rash. Xiao Sun frowned. He was a member of the Xiao clan, so he understood the fifth prince and knew that the fifth prince was a fierce and ambitious person. He knew that the fifth prince was no simple figure, even to the extent that he might become the next emperor of the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Duanling Tian, did you formed a deep and irreconcilable grudge with that Tong Li before? Su Li asked Duanling Tian. This was exactly the question that was within the hearts of Xiao Yu and the others. Yes. Duanling Tian nodded, then he slowly recounted the conflict between him and Tong Li 3 months ago. So that's how it is. Looks like even if you hadn't hit her today, it would still be impossible for her to let you off. Tian who came to an understanding. Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun both came to understand this as well, so Duanling Tian and Tong Li had long since been like fire and ice. Thus Duanling Tian teaching Tong Li a lesson today counted for nothing. In other words, this time it was she who came of her own accord to seek a beating. Su Li's eyes were suffused with coldness. You can put it that way. Duanling Tian smiled indifferently with a completely unconcerned expression. Enough. Let's not speak of her. Talking about her is just depressing. However, he being unconcerned didn't mean that Xiao Yu and the others weren't concerned either. Duanling Tian, why don't put up in the academy with me and Su Li from now on? Even though that fifth prince has an exalted status, he wouldn't dare act rashly within Paladin Academy, Tian who suggested. Yeah, Duanling Tian, I think Tian who is right. You should put up in the academy, Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun said to Duanling Tian. Su Li gazed at Duanling Tian as well. Duanling Tian could notice that Su Li's cold eyes had a rare trace of concern, and he couldn't help but feel warmth in his heart. I know you all have good intentions, but I've got a plan, so you don't have to worry. Duanling Tian lightly smiled. As his eyes focused, a fierce light flashed within. Whoosh! Suddenly, a black bolt of lightning flashed out of Duanling Tian's sleeve before directly jumping onto the table. It was precisely the little black python that Duanling Tian had brought along with him. This little black python extended its head and sucked in a bowl of meat and vegetable stock, eating with great relish. This is... Xiao Yu's and the others' gazes were all attracted by the little black python. Xiao Sun's gaze descended onto the little black python as he exclaimed, in a low voice, "What an unusual snake!" The gold striations on its body seemed to be like ancient text. There's even a single horn on its head. What breed is this? I've never seen nor heard of it before. Duanling Tian, is this your pet? Tian, who gulped down a mouthful of saliva, as even he could perceive that this little python wasn't simple. Not mentioning anything else, just the speed at which the little python flashed out earlier was something he couldn't even catch a trace of. All he felt was a black bolt of lightning flash past before the little python appeared out of thin air. Yes, Duanling Tian didn't deny it. Even he never expected that this mischievous little fellow would come out. He swung his palm across to drag it back into his sleeve. Hiss hiss, the little python swiftly flicked its tongue as if it was protesting against Duanling Tian's actions, but unfortunately, its protests were to no avail. After the stir the little python made, the atmosphere at Duanling Tian's table eased up slightly, but Xiao Yu and the other sir were still worried about Duanling Tian, as the person Duanling Tian offended was the imperial family's fifth prince after all. After sleeping for another afternoon, Duanling Tian yawned as he walked out of Paladin Academy with Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun. After parting ways with the two, Duanling Tian seemed to have noticed something. His cloudy eyes flashed with a trace of a bright light, and a sneer appeared on the corners of his mouth. Duanling Tian shrugged his shoulders and didn't directly return home, but instead walked towards a secluded street before entering a small alley. Whoosh! Whoosh! At almost the exact instant that Duanling Tian walked into the small alley, two extremely swift figures flashed towards him from behind before stopping him from both the front and back. Since when did Duan clan members become the dogs of branch clan disciples? Duanling Tian's eyes narrowed, seeming to not be taken by surprise by the two figures' appearance. He noticed at the moment he left Paladin Academy, there was a gloomy gaze staring at him from afar, and he only slightly shot a glance before noticing Duan Rong, who was concealed at the side. There were two more people beside Duan Rong, and relying upon the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor and the counter-tracking experience he gained during his time as a weapon specialist in his previous life, as well as his spiritual force, which was currently comparable to a nascent soul martial artist's. It only took a short moment for Duanling Tian to roughly discern that the cultivation levels of the two people beside Duan Rong were at least at the 7th level of the origin core stage. At present, the two middle-aged men's faces sank as they heard what Duanling Tian said. They didn't think that this youth would actually be able to guess their identity. An ill omen suddenly surfaced within their hearts, as this youth was actually able to be so composed even at such a time. Could it be that he has something to rely on? Or maybe there is a powerhouse protecting him? The two middle-aged men subconsciously observed the surroundings for a moment. According to their knowledge, this youth seemed to only have a 7th level origin core martial artist to protect him. Moreover, it seemed that the 7th level origin core martial artist wasn't present today. After they realized that there was no one else around, they both heaved sighs of relief. Are all the Duan clan members so cowardly? The sneer on the corners of Duanling Tian's mouth grew even wider, and his voice was filled with a mocking tone. Kid, if you want to blame someone, then blame yourself for offending someone you shouldn't have offended, the middle-aged man behind him said in a low voice as his gaze went cold, and at the moment he finished speaking, he looked towards the middle-aged man in the front and nodded. Whoosh! Whoosh! At almost the same time, the figures of the two middle-aged men jerked, and they seemed to transform into two incomparably swift bolts of lightning as they flashed towards Duanling Tian. Above their heads, 120 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared. Two 9th level origin core martial artists? That Duan Ru Lei really thinks highly of me. Faced with the pincer attack of two 9th level origin core martial artists, Duanling Tian didn't seem to mind at all, as he stood there unmoving on the spot. Even his voice was extremely tranquil. Even though both of the middle-aged men felt that the youth's reaction was slightly strange, they had no way of backing down now. Die! Their eyes emitted a murderous gleam as origin energy burst forth from their palms and enveloped downwards upon Duanling Tian. Originally, for the sake of my deadbeat dad, I had no intention of becoming enemies with anyone from the Duan clan. However, since you two are holding a candle to the devil, then go to hell. At this critical instant, Duanling Tian's speech increased in speed, and in the next moment, he lifted his hand. Whoosh! A black stream of light flashed out from his sleeve and moved like lightning as if it was a death god's scythe whistling out. Spirit Serpent Movement Technique. And at almost the exact same time, Duan Ling Tian's legs jerked as he instantly moved aside. Bang! Followed by that black bolt of lightning piercing through their chests, the origin energy on the two middle-aged men dissipated. Momentum brought their bodies to move forward and collide with each other before fiercely crashing onto the ground, lifeless. Whoosh! The black lightning bolt moved in flashes before descending onto Duan Ling Tian's shoulder. Hiss hiss, the little black python flicked its tongue and licked Duan Ling Tian's cheek, and its pair of incomparably intelligent, small eyes turned about. Duan Ling Tian squatted down and searched the two corpses for a moment. So poor, there's only 500,000 silver or so on the two of them. Forget it, no matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat. Every bit counts. After putting away the stack of silver within his spatial ring, Duan Ling Tian grabbed the little black python from his shoulder, held it in his palm, and said, with a light smile, "You did a good job, little fellow. I'll get someone to make something good for you when we get home." The little black python seemed to understand what Duan Ling Tian said, as it lightly nodded, and its agile body wiggled in an incomparably exultant manner. As expected, a nascent soul stage fierce beast is able to understand human speech to a certain extent. However, Little Black and Little White have only recently stepped into the nascent soul stage, and thus require some guidance before being able to completely understand human speech. Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart as he continued forward and took a few turns before finally returning to his courtyard house. Within his spacious courtyard house, Duan Rong sat cross-legged as he enjoyed a servant girl's massage. He had a bite of apple in his mouth as a slight smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. The moment he thought about how he wouldn't see that violet-clothed youth anymore from tomorrow onwards, he couldn't help but arouse a sense of delight within his heart. So you offended this young master. Even just before you died, you probably don't even know who sent them to kill you, right? The more he thought about it, the more Duan Rong felt happy within his heart. Unfortunately, however, he wasn't able to be happy for long. That night, an unexpected guest arrived in his courtyard house. Duan Ling Xing. "Cousin brother, what are you doing here?" Duan Rong was slightly surprised when he noticed Duan Ling Xing's arrival, but his eyes still had an unceasing smile. "You seem very happy," Duan Ling Xing slowly said. "Of course. When I think about how I don't need to see that arrogant kid anymore, I feel extremely delighted within my heart. Right, cousin brother? You've come so late. Is there something you need from me?" Because of the dim lighting, Duan Rong didn't notice Duan Ling Xing's slightly gloomy face. Duan Ling Xing's eyes focused as he slowly said, "I'm afraid you can't do as you wish on this matter anymore." "Cousin brother, what do you mean by that?" When Duan Rong finally realized that something was strange, his heart jerked, and the smile on his face completely froze. Could something have gone wrong? It shouldn't have. That violet-clothed youth was alone when he left Paladin Academy today, and even if he wasn't alone, that masked middle-aged man by his side was only a 7th-level Origin Core martial artist. Under the attack of 2 9th-level Origin Core martial artists, he should have died without a doubt. The 2 9th-level Origin Core martial artists my father appointed to you didn't return to the Duan clan estate to report the results to my father even until dusk. So my father sent someone out to search for a while, and who would have thought that he would actually find their corpses near Paladin Academy? Duan Ling Xing's expression was incomparably gloomy. Who the heck did this cousin brother of his offend? No. Impossible. It's impossible. Duan Rong hurriedly shook his head with a face full of disbelief. He was unwilling to believe that all of this was true. Duan Ling Xing frowned as he asked, in a low voice, "Didn't you say that he only had a 7th-level Origin Core martial artist by his side?" I don't know. At that time, there was indeed only a 7th-level Origin Core martial artist at his side. This is something our branch clan's 8th elder saw with his own 2 eyes as well. Duan Rong laughed bitterly. "Humph. Looks like the background of this enemy of yours isn't that simple. Both of the 9th-level Origin Core martial artists my father appointed to you were killed with a single blow, pierced through the heart with a sharp weapon. The person that killed them acted quickly and decisively. It was almost certainly a nascent soul martial artist who did it. In other words, That person you want to kill had a nascent soul martial artist protecting him. Duan Ling Xing coldly grunted before once again looking at Duan Rong. You better not let the cat out of the bag, because if he finds out that it was you who did it, your life will be in danger. Duan Rong was so afraid that his face went ghastly pale after he heard what Duan Ling Xing said. Never had he imagined that the violet-clothed youth actually had a nascent soul martial artist at his side. After all, even the branch family that he originated from only had 2 supreme elders that were existences at the nascent soul stage. Cousin brother, how did uncle decide to deal with this matter? I feel that the violet-clothed youth will suspect me sooner or later. Depending on what uncle does, I'll follow you home and stay at the Duan clan estate for some time. Duan Rong's voice was slightly trembling, as he was afraid. Don't worry. No matter who he is, anyone who dares kill a member of our Duan clan will certainly die. A trace of coldness appeared in Duan Ling Xing's gaze. Duan Rong heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing Duan Ling Xing's reply. You better lay low for the time being, and don't make trouble for me, do you understand? Duan Ling Xing glared at Duan Rong, causing Duan Rong to hurriedly nod without daring to have the slightest hesitation. Inside his room, Duan Ling Tian spread out the materials that Xiong Quan had gathered today, and his brows slightly rose. I didn't think that Xiong Quan would be able to find more than half of the materials I needed within only a day's time. It's sufficient to inscribe 2 inscriptions. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath, then he raised his hand and withdrew his violet myrtle flexible sword. At the same time, he took off the spatial ring on his hand. The offensive inscription he planned to inscribe was named the Bone Corrosion Inscription. Once activated, the Bone Corrosion Inscription would pour out with the strength of bone corrosion. Unless one was at least a half-step void stage martial artist, there would be no hope of dodging nor curing it. Once hit with the inscription, the bones of the entire body will be instantly corroded into ashes, and only flesh will remain. Completely and utterly dead. Even though a person hit by the bone corrosion inscription would die in an instant, at the moment before death, they would have to endure extreme pain. A pain that penetrated into the heart and bones. A pain that was unimaginable to an ordinary person. Deep into the night, Duan Ling Tian finally completed the 2 bone corrosion inscriptions and inscribed them respectively on his violet myrtle flexible sword and spatial ring. It was a high-ranked inscription after all, and besides being able to be inscribed onto the spatial ring, it was even possible to flawlessly coexist with the blood crescent inscription that was attached to the violet myrtle flexible sword. After completing the 2 inscriptions, Duan Ling Tian's strained spiritual force finally relaxed. A wave of exhaustion swept over him before he drifted off into a deep slumber. When he woke up the next day, he still felt terribly fatigued, and his complexion didn't look so good. Tian, are you okay? Li Ro had a face full of worry when she saw her son's complexion. Scoundrel, what did you do last night? Yes, young master. Why is your complexion so bad? Li Fei and Ku Er both had faces full of worry, and their hearts ached unceasingly. It's nothing. I only inscribed 2 inscriptions. Don't worry, I'll be able to recover once I return from the academy today. Duan Ling Tian shook his head with a smile and left directly for Paladin Academy after finishing his breakfast. Within the classroom, Sima Changfeng stood at the podium as he slowly recounted the Tao of being a mastermind. Below the podium, the violet-clothed youth lied on the table sound asleep, forming a sharp contrast compared to the other 17 students that were listening in earnest. Did this fellow Duan Ling Tian not sleep last night? He slept the entire afternoon yesterday. Even if he really didn't sleep last night, he wouldn't be this tired, right? Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun looked at Duan Ling Tian, who was in a deep slumber, with faces filled with astonishment. Enough. All of you, properly reflect on what I spoke about earlier, Sima Changfeng said to the other students. Then he walked up to Duan Ling Tian's table before lightly knocking the table. Duan Ling Tian, follow me outside for a moment. Duan Ling Tian raised his head and rubbed his dry eyes. When he noticed Sima Changfeng, he laughed embarrassedly before following obediently. Duan Ling Tian originally expected that the reason Sima Changfeng called him out was about the matter of him sleeping during class. Unexpectedly, however, are you an inscription master? Sima Changfeng's eyes were illuminated with wisdom as his gaze focused on Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian's heart jerked and his body shuddered. He completely woke up in an instant and glanced deeply at Sima Changfeng. Teacher Sima, why do you ask? Sima Changfeng lightly smiled. I've done some research on the Tao of inscription. According to my knowledge, exhaustion of vitality is divided into various types, where your exhaustion is obviously caused by the overconsumption of spiritual force, and this condition would only appear on an inscription master. Sima Changfeng spoke on the subject with great familiarity. Duanling Tian's pupils constricted. Although Sima Changfeng said that he had only done some research on the Tao of inscription, Duanling Tian knew that he was just being humble, not mentioning anything else. Just what he said now was something that no ordinary inscription master would be capable of. Obviously, this teacher Sima was an extremely experienced inscription master. I never thought that you'd be an inscription master as well, teacher. Duanling Tian lightly smiled. He didn't deny the fact that he was an inscription master. Since Sima Changfeng was able to discern that he had overconsumed his spiritual force, then Sima Changfeng had obviously confirmed that he was an inscription master, and thus, even if he had not admitted it, Sima Changfeng would not believe him. I can be considered to have only dabbled in the Tao of inscription. You're only at the core formation stage and only have a limited amount of spiritual force, so there's no need to waste too much energy on the art of inscription. Once your cultivation advances, your spiritual force will naturally increase in tow, and thus spending your energy on the art of inscription in the future is the right way. Sima Changfeng had an earnest expression as he gradually guided his student. He obviously thought that Duanling Tian's condition of overconsumption of spiritual force was because he went overboard when studying the art of inscription. Yes, teacher. Duanling Tian lightly nodded as knew that Sima Changfeng was saying all this out of good intentions. Focusing on the advancement of your cultivation is the right way for your age. If you're really interested in the art of inscription in the future, although the inscriptions I possess are limited, I can slightly guide you and save you from taking many detours on your path of learning, Sima Changfeng continued, as he obviously seemed to care very much for Duanling Tian, this student of his. Guide me? The corners of Duanling Tian's mouth twitched. He possessed the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, and the inscription art of Rebirth Martial Emperor could absolutely be considered unparalleled under the heavens. Not to mention this small little Crimson Sky Kingdom. Even across the entire Cloud continent, there might not be another who could compete with Rebirth Martial Emperor on the art of inscription. Thank you, teacher. However, Duanling Tian still expressed his thanks to Sima Changfeng, as no matter what, Sima Changfeng's suggestions were still out of his good intentions. Even though the art of inscription that he held was even more than enough to be the ancestor of Sima Changfeng. You can return now. Duanling Tian followed behind Sima Changfeng and returned to the classroom as instructed. In next to no time, the morning classes came to an end. Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun both arrived beside Duanling Tian with eyes that emitted a dubious sense that any man would understand. Duanling Tian, you're still young. You have to do some things in moderation so that you don't harm your health. F***K. What are you guys talking about? Duanling Tian glared at the two of them. How could he not know what these two filthy fellows were talking about? Look at you, getting angry from being embarrassed, right? We're all grown men. Isn't romance between men and women something extremely normal? Xiao Sun laughed. Yeah, why else would you be so drowsy today? You were even called out by teacher Sima to be reprimanded. Xiao Yu agreed with a nod, speaking in a reasonable and justifiable manner. I don't have time for this. Duanling Tian rolled his eyes at the two of them before heading straight for the cafeteria. When they arrived at the cafeteria, they noticed that Suli and Tian Hu had already taken a table. Suli, Tian Hu, you two are actually here earlier than us. Duanling Tian was slightly surprised. That fellow, Niu Meng, seemed to be busy today and left early. Tuan Hu laughed, then his face turned serious. Duanling Tian, that fifth prince hasn't come looking for trouble with you, right? Duanling Tian shook his head. Even if the fifth prince were to come looking for trouble, his movements shouldn't be so quick. People like the fifth prince, who grew up in a place filled with mutual deceit like the imperial family, were undoubtedly the most cautious. Based solely upon his attitude towards Tongli, as long as the fifth prince hasn't fully investigated his background, the fifth prince would definitely not make a move against him. After all, the attitude which he portrayed yesterday seemed to show that he had something to rely upon and that he was not one bit afraid of the fifth prince. This was something that many people saw yesterday. It's that Duan Rong again. Tian, whose gaze looked towards one of the two young men that were walking over from afar. Duan Ling Tian, this Duan Rong seems somewhat different today. Why do I feel like his gaze towards you is completely different from yesterday? It seems more like he's afraid of you. What did you do to him? Xiao Yu looked at Duan Ling Tian as he spoke with a wondering expression. But what he noticed was that Duan Ling Tian's gaze was currently fierce like lightning, and there was even traces of dense and bloodthirsty killing intent being emitted from his body. The killing intent swept out, and although it wasn't targeting him, it still caused his heart to shudder. Suli, Xiao Sun, and Tian, whose faces went pale as well, as they were all affected by Duan Ling Tian's killing intent, their gaze descended upon the young man beside Duan Rong in unison. It's him. Xiao Sun recognized the young man with but a glance. The Duan clan's second master's son, Duan Ling Xing. Never had Duan Ling Tian imagined that he would actually see Duan Ling Xing, this person that he hated to the bones, within Paladin Academy. Duan Ling Tian's heart was trembling, as the scenes of Duan Ling Xing flaunting his strength and heavily injuring himself, Ku Er, and Li Fei flashed before his eyes as if they were happening right before him. Duan Ling Xing. Duan Ling Tian's voice emitted an incomparable coldness, and his hand had already moved to be placed atop the hilt of the violet myrtle flexible sword on his waist. At this moment, he would only need but a thought before he would swing out his sword to kill Duan Ling Xing. Abruptly being enveloped by Duan Ling Tian's bloodthirsty, killing intent caused Duan Rong's expression to turn ghastly pale and his legs to start trembling. He currently like he was on a single boat floating on the ocean and was in danger of capsizing at any moment. This feeling was extremely difficult to bear and practically suffocating. He knows cousin brother? Duan Rong took a deep breath and forcefully withstood the bloodthirsty killing intent. He had a ghastly pale face as he stared at the violet-clothed youth in the distance. He noticed that the violet-clothed youth that he hated to the bones seemed to hate his cousin brother to the bones. What was going on? Who could tell him? In the instant that Duan Ling Xing was enveloped by this bloodthirsty killing intent, he felt it to be slightly familiar. When he circulated his origin energy to forcefully withstand this killing intent and looked at the source, his gaze descended upon the violet-clothed youth that sat in the distance. 2 years had passed, and the violet-clothed youth from before obviously had matured substantially, but he still recognized the violet-clothed youth with a single glance. Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Xing's pupils constricted as his eyes emitted a killing intent so dense it was difficult to suppress. Never had he imagined that Duan Ling Tian would actually appear within Paladin Academy. There was only one possibility as to why he could appear within Paladin Academy. Duan Ling Tian had become a student here. If he wasn't wrong, this Duan Ling Tian was only 18 now. Had he passed the test within one of the 18 counties to enter Paladin Academy at the age of 18? Such natural talent was even more monstrous than the Duan Ru Feng of before. There was only one thought within his heart. This Duan Ling Tian must die. He could imagine how if Duan Ling Tian were to stay alive, Duan Ling Tian would undoubtedly become a great calamity for himself. Duan Ling Tian, I'm really surprised. You've not only inherited the natural talent of your short-lived father, you've even outdone him and entered Paladin Academy at the young age of 18. Duan Ling Xing walked over to arrive before Duan Ling Tian's table, and a sneer appeared on the corners of his mouth. I'm extremely surprised as well. The son of a cripple is actually at Paladin Academy? TSK, if I'm not wrong, you should have gotten a place from the Duan clan's recommendation quota and were only able to enter Paladin Academy because of it, right? As expected, the son of a cripple is trash that needs to use a backdoor to enter Paladin Academy. Duan Ling Tian's gaze went cold as he gave tit for tat. A shapeless aura shot out from their bodies and unceasingly clashed against each other. Everyone present could feel the imposing atmosphere. Duan Lingxing's body trembled. The dense killing intent in his eyes had reached an extreme as he said, with an extremely low voice, "You dare insult my father? Have I said something wrong?" Duan Ling Tian sneered without a trace of fear. The surrounding Paladin Academy students, including Su Li, Xiao Yu, and the others were all stunned. They noticed that from the moment Duan Lingxing appeared, Duan Ling Tian seemed to become a different person. That was the gaze of someone who was looking at the greatest enemy in his life. And it looked like Duan Ling Tian wished for nothing more than to pounce on Duan Lingxing and shred him to pieces. Duan Lingxing, on the other hand, seemed to be similarly filled with bloodthirsty enmity from the moment he noticed Duan Ling Tian. These two people seemed like they were born enemies. Duan Rong hid behind Duan Lingxing, narrowly avoiding the killing intent that swept in his direction from Duan Ling Tian, and asked, with great difficulty, cousin brother, who is he? Duan Ling Tian? Could it be that this violet-clothed youth is a Duan clan member as well?" Duan Lingxing's eyes narrowed into a line as he spoke in a cold voice. "His origins are no small matter. His father is that short-lived guy of our Duan clan, Duan Rufeng." Short-lived? Duan Ling Tian's gaze became even more icy cold. Even though he didn't have any feelings towards his deadbeat father, it was his father after all. He was also the husband of his mother who he respected the most. How could he allow Duan Lingxing to disrespect his father like this? Duan Rong was stunned. Duan Rufeng? This was a name he'd heard of before. Duan Rufeng, the former peerless genius of the imperial city's Duan clan, a figure who suddenly appeared on the horizon like a comet and hasn't been heard of since he vanished 18 years ago. But even then, he was still deeply remembered by many. If Duan Rufeng hadn't vanished, then he would be the Duan clan's third master. No, if Duan Rufeng hadn't vanished, as long as he was willing, even the position of the Duan clan's patriarch would be his. Never had Duan Rong imagined that the violet-clothed youth he hated to the bones was actually the son of Duan Rufeng. At the same time, the gazes of everyone present descended upon Duan Ling Tian, especially Xiao Sun's, whose pupils couldn't help but constrict. Duan Ling Tian actually was a true member of the Duan clan, and moreover, the son of Duan Rufeng, the one who was formerly publicly acknowledged as the greatest genius in the entire Crimson Sky Kingdom. Xiao Yu and Tian, who had more or less heard of Duan Rufeng, but never had they imagined that Duan Ling Tian actually had such an identity, and he was even a direct descendant of the imperial city's Duan clan. Duan Rufeng? Su Li's eyes shone with a strand of an odd light as he glanced deeply at Duan Ling Tian. This youth is actually the son of that Duan Rufeng. I never imagined that Duan Rufeng actually had a living descendant. This youth obviously wasn't recommended into Paladin Academy by the Duan clan, but he was able to pass the entrance test within one of the 18 counties to enter Paladin Academy at such an age. His natural talent is truly monstrous. Some of the Paladin Academy students whispered amongst themselves. Duan Ling Tian abruptly stood up, his gaze flashing with a cold light as he spoke in an icy cold voice that seemed to be echoing out of an ice pit. Duan Lingxing, the reason I came to the Imperial City and entered Paladin Academy was precisely to kill you and to repay the gifts you bestowed upon me 2 years ago. Now, I formally challenge you to a life and death battle. Do you dare to accept my challenge? He wished for nothing more than to directly attack and kill Duan Lingxing, but he understood that he couldn't be rash due to his current circumstances. He would have to kill Duan Lingxing in an open and just method so that the Duan clan's second master, Duan Rulei, could only look on helplessly when such a loss was dealt upon him. What Duan Ling Tian said caused everyone present to be dumbfounded. Has this Duan Ling Tian gone mad? Duan Lingxing is a grade 4 student, and he has allegedly stepped into the 9th level of the core formation stage. Even if this Duan Ling Tian's natural talent is good, he's only around the age of 18 after all, and moreover, he is only a grade 1 student. Many Paladin Academy students were stunned by what Duan Ling Tian said. Duan Ling Tian, don't be rash. Xiao Sun's face went grim as he hurriedly tried to dissuade Duan Ling Tian. Even though he knew that Duan Ling Tian was strong, and he believed that Duan Ling Tian would one day surpass Duan Ling Xing, the current Duan Ling Tian was undoubtedly slightly inferior to Duan Ling Xing. He had seen Duan Ling Tian's strength, and although it wasn't bad, he was only just slightly stronger than Su Li and could be considered to be peerless at the 7th level of the core formation stage. But if he were to encounter a martial artist at the 8th level of the core formation stage, it would require great effort to withstand, and Duan Ling Xing was in existence at the 9th level of the core formation stage. Xiao Yu and Tian, who became aware of Duan Ling Xing's cultivation level from the surrounding discussion, their expressions went grim, and they followed to dissuade Duan Ling Tian. Only Su Li seemed to have understood something and didn't try to dissuade Duan Ling Tian when he noticed the cold light flashing within Duan Ling Tian's eyes and the angle at which the corners of his mouth were curled. You challenge me? And it's even a life and death battle? Duan Ling Xing was in slight disbelief when he heard what Duan Ling Tian said. He wished for nothing more than to kill Duan Ling Tian from the moment he laid eyes upon Duan Ling Tian, but unfortunately, this was Paladin Academy, and the consequences of killing another for no reason was something that even he as the son of the Duan clan's second master could not bear. But it would be different if a life and death battle pact were to be established. Once a life and death battle pact was established, Paladin Academy would not interfere even if he were to kill Duan Ling Tian. What, you don't dare? Duan Ling Tian sneered. Just when Duan Ling Xing was about to speak of his agreement, cousin brother, Duan Rong spoke out with eyes that emitted a sense of fear and said, in a low voice, "This Duan Ling Tian is precisely the violet-clothed youth that injured me 2 months ago. Didn't you say last night that we can't act rashly? And shouldn't we first investigate his background before asking Uncle to send out his men to deal with him?" What? He's the violet-clothed youth you spoke of? Duan Ling Xing's pupils constricted. The only reason he came to the cafeteria with Duan Rong today was precisely to take a look at the enemy of his cousin brother, but he never imagined that the enemy of his cousin brother was precisely Duan Ling Tian. Yes. Duan Rong nodded and said, with a face full of fear, "Cousin brother, this Duan Ling Tian took the initiative to issue a challenge, and this matter seems odd. You must not agree to his challenge." He was afraid from the moment he heard that Duan Ling Tian was the son of Duan Rufeng, as although Duan Rufeng had vanished for nearly 20 years, there has never been anyone who could be certain of his death. Some people even spread the word that Duan Rufeng might still be alive. If Duan Rufeng was really alive, then this Duan Ling Tian would have a backing that no one in the entire Crimson Sky Kingdom could compare to. Humph. I'll decide myself. Duan Ling Xing's eyes narrowed. Would he refuse Duan Ling Tian's challenge? The answer was no. After hearing what Duan Rong said, the killing intent within Duan Ling Xing's heart grew even stronger. This Duan Ling Tian actually had a nascent soul martial artist by his side to protect him. He had a feeling that if he were to miss this opportunity, then wanting to kill Duan Ling Tian in the future would be even more difficult than climbing the heavens. Ha 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 ha. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but laugh out loud as he watched Duan Ling Xing and Duan Rong whispering to each other for so long. His voice was filled with arrogance and unruliness as he said, "Duan Ling Xing, as expected of the son of the Duan clan's trash second master. You don't even dare to accept a life and death battle against an 18-year-old kid like me. Why? Why? Duan Ling Tian had only just finished speaking when every student present looked at Duan Ling Xing with an odd gaze. Duan Ling Xing isn't really afraid of accepting Duan Ling Tian's life and death battle challenge, right? Is he a man or not? A grade 4 student is afraid of accepting a grade 1 student's life and death battle challenge? Moreover, the challenger is only just a kid. This Duan Ling Xing probably won't be able to lift his head up within Paladin Academy and even the Imperial City in the future. Some students voiced out their opinions, as they craved nothing more than to stir up trouble. These voices entered Duan Ling Xing's ears and were like needles pricking him. His gaze went cold as he looked at Duan Ling Tian with a frosty expression. Duan Ling Tian, you're even more arrogant than your father all those years ago. Since you're courting death, I'll send you off myself. I accept your life and death battle challenge. Duan Ling Xing agreed in a straightforward manner. Cousin brother. Duan Rong's face went pale, as he had a feeling that something wasn't right, and he felt perturbed in his heart. Shut up. However, after being glared at by Duan Ling Xing, Duan Rong immediately didn't dare make another sound. He knew that once this cousin brother of his made a decision, it wasn't something he could interfere with. Meanwhile, more and more people arrived at the corner of the cafeteria where Duan Ling Tian's table was situated. Suddenly, I never expected that I would encounter such an interesting matter while just having a meal. If you two want a life and death battle, then this old fellow will join in on the fun and bear witness for you too. An aged voice echoed downwards from the cafeteria pavilion above. The cafeteria pavilion wasn't open to Paladin Academy students. Meanwhile, a gray-robed old man slowly walked down from the cafeteria pavilion. Vice Dean. Vice Dean. Instantly, the students respectfully greeted the old man. Duan Ling Tian looked over, and what he saw was a thin, gray-robed old man with an ordinary appearance. Although he was old, the old man seemed to be full of vigor, and a bright light flashed within his eyes. This was an expert. At least to the current Duan Ling Tian, this old man was an expert. Vice Dean. Even the arrogant and unruly Duan Ling Xing bowed respectfully upon seeing the old man. Duan Ling Tian lightly nodded to the old man as well. You two want a life and death battle, right? The old man's brows knitted as a trace of a smile of anticipation appeared on the corners of his mouth. Then I'll bear witness for you two. However, do you two want to notify your seniors to attend the battle? This matter is no small matter, as it could easily mean life or death. No. Duan Ling Tian shook his head. Notify his seniors to attend the battle? He knew that if his mother were to come, she would certainly not agree to him carrying out a life and death battle with Duan Ling Xing. The old man gazed at Duan Ling Xing as he asked, "How about you?" Duan Ling Xing's icy cold gaze descended upon Duan Ling Tian as he slowly said, "I don't need to either, as the one who's going to die isn't me in any case." Duan Ling Xing's words were filled with confidence. Go to the martial arts practice grounds. The old man nodded and his body jerked. His entire body seemed to have vanished on the spot, and when he reappeared, he was already over 10 meters away. What swift speed! Duan Ling Tian's gaze focused, and he had a face full of surprise. The old man's speed was so much faster than Xiong Quan's that it was on a different level. Of course, it was also because Xiong Quan hadn't fully recovered his strength. Once Duan Ling Tian steps into the Origin Core stage and refines the Grade 8 Spirit Cleansing Pill for Xiong Quan to consume, Xiong Quan's strength will surely recover to the Void Prying stage. At that time, the fourth true Void stage powerhouse in the Crimson Sky Kingdom will be born. Whether it was the students who were eating or the students waiting for their food, the group of students within the cafeteria flowed out and followed them. A life and death battle. Such an event wasn't something that would happen every day. Food was something they could do without, but such a bustling event was something they couldn't miss. He's called Duan Ling Tian? A red-clothed girl with a black whip in her hand followed them while being attended to by another woman. Her eyes flickered with a dense coldness. It was precisely Tong Li. Miss Li, that new student, Duan Ling Tian, actually dared to challenge a grade 4 student, and it's even a life and death battle. He's dead for sure. This time there's someone to help you vent your grievances, the women that followed behind Tong Li said, with a light smile. Humph. Unfortunately, however, he couldn't die by my hand. But even if he's killed, I won't let his corpse off. Since I've said I'll tear him into pieces, I will do as I've said. Tong Li's voice was filled with a bone-piercing coldness that caused the woman behind her to be so scared that her face went pale. Under the lead of the old man, the group of Paladin Academy students moved forward in a massive stream towards the martial arts practice grounds. Shall you walk beside Duan Ling Tian as he asked, in a low voice, Duan Ling Tian, are you confident? Xiao Sun and Tian, who looked at Duan Ling Tian as well. Now that things had progressed this far, they understood that they couldn't change anything and only hoped that Duan Ling Tian would be able to survive this life and death battle. Have some confidence in me, okay? At a critical moment, It's still Suli who understands me the best. Duanling Tian shook his head and revealed a light smile. He had a composed appearance and seemed to be someone that was about to undergo a life and death battle. Xiao Yu and the others looked over at Suli, and only now did they realize that Suli had a similar composed appearance like Duanling Tian. They heaved a sigh of relief. A trace of doubt appeared within Xiao Sun's eyes, however. Could it be that Duanling Tian concealed his strength when he battled Suli? In the distance, Duan Rong walked beside Duanling Xing. His gaze would occasionally flash past Duanling Tian, and he noticed the indifferent expression on Duanling Tian's face. His heart jerked as he felt even more uneasy within his heart. Cousin brother, that Duanling Tian looks like he's extremely confident. You? Duan Rong gazed at Duanling Xing, who was beside him, with a worried expression. Humph. Duanling Xing grunted coldly and interrupted Duan Rong. You call that having confidence? That's called arrogance. This Duanling Tian is exactly like his short-lived father. Their arrogance knows no bounds. Today, I'll spill his blood over Paladin Academy. In this way, not only will I be able to take revenge for you, I'll also be able to deal with this potential calamity. Actually, besides detesting Duanling Tian's father for crippling his own father, the most important reason Duanling Xing urgently wanted to kill Duanling Tian was because he was worried that Duanling Tian would return to the Duan clan. Although Duanling Tian had left the Duan clan that year, his name still remained on the Duan clan's direct descendant registry, so he was still one of the Duan clan's direct descendants. If Duanling Tian's natural talent were to be discovered by the other Duan clan members, they would surely welcome Duanling Tian back to the Duan clan. That was something he didn't want to see happen at all. As such, he wanted to kill Duanling Tian and remove all future troubles. Duan Rong went silent. In fact, he also wanted to kill Duanling Tian, as the finger attack Duanling Tian dealt him in the past practically crippled his entire hand and caused it to be nearly impossible to be healed. The vast martial arts practice grounds was fully surrounded by a massive array of people before long. The gray-robed old man stood at the center of the crowd and looked at Duanling Tian and Duanling Xing before raising his hand and withdrawing a piece of paper from within his spatial ring. This was Paladin Academy's life and death contract. If there was an irreconcilable enmity between two parties that could not be quelled until one party died, then the students of Paladin Academy may sign a life and death contract. In this way, Paladin Academy would not have to look into or pursue the matter of either party's death. Affix your thumbprint. The old man lifted his hand before casually tossing the life and death contract, which was led by a gentle force to descend before Duanling Xing. Duanling Xing extended his hand and directly bit open his thumb before impressing his thumbprint onto the contract, following which he grunted coldly and tossed the life and death contract to Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian placed his thumbprint onto the contract as well. Life and death contract established. After the old man retrieved the life and death contract, his gaze focused, and he said, in a low voice, "Since the two of you have signed the life and death contract, then the following battle will be a battle to the death. You two may rely on spirit weapons, but are disallowed from using other external sources of strength, such as inscriptions and the like." Disallowed from using inscriptions? Duanling Tian's gaze slightly flickered, but he never planned on using an inscription anyway. 9th level of the core formation stage? Duanling Tian wasn't surprised that Duanling Xing was at such a cultivation level. Spirit weapons are allowed? I heard Duanling Xing possesses a grade 8 spirit weapon called gold thread gloves. It can't be. This Duanling Xing has a grade 8 spirit weapon? It's actually nothing strange, as Duanling Xing's father is the Duan clan's second master. It isn't difficult for him to get a grade 8 spirit weapon for Duanling Xing. You're right. However, wouldn't this mean that Duanling Tian's situation is even more dangerous? Even if Duanling Xing didn't have a grade 8 spirit weapon, do you think that Duanling Tian would have any hope of survival? None of the students that gathered around to watch the show looked favorably upon Duanling Tian. Grade 8 spirit weapon. Xiao Yu, Xiao Sun, and Tian whose faces went grim. Damn it. If I knew that this life and death battle was going to happen, I would have borrowed a grade 8 spirit weapon from my elder brother. Xiao Sun's face sank. Don't worry, that flexible sword of Duan Ling Tian's is a grade 8 spirit weapon as well. Just as this moment, Su Li spoke. Xiao Yu and the others couldn't help but be surprised. How do you know? The other day, my sword was chipped at a few spots by his sword. The corners of Su Li's mouth twitched and seemed to be slightly pained for a brief moment. Xiao Yu and the others were finally enlightened. Su Li's sword was a grade 9 spirit weapon, and since Duan Ling Tian's sword was able to chip Su Li's sword, then it would be a grade 8 spirit weapon without a doubt. Tian, who exhaled a breath of cold air as he said, in astonishment, looks like he didn't use the full might of his grade 8 spirit weapon the other day. Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun deeply agreed, and only Su Li's brows seemed to knit, neither indicating approval nor disapproval. That day, he suspected that Duan Ling Tian hadn't used the might of his spirit weapon at all. Today, when Duan Ling Tian took the initiative to challenge Duan Ling Xing and emitted such strong confidence, he instantly perceived that his suspicions weren't misplaced. Remember what I said. If either of you uses any source of external strength besides a spirit weapon, I will directly attack and kill him. The gray-robed old man's, also known as the Vice Dean of Paladin Academy, voice went cold abruptly before returning to normal. He said, in a clear voice, "Begin." The gray-robed old man moved aside as soon as he finished. Duan Ling Tian, I'll send you on your way to hell right now and let you follow in your short-lived father's footsteps. Duan Ling Xing had already put his gold thread gloves on his hands, and a cold smile appeared on the corners of his mouths as his eyes emitted a cold light. Are all trash fond of talking nonsense? Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed as he sneered. You're courting death. Duan Ling Xing went completely berserk when he heard Duan Ling Tian call him trash, and his body pounced towards Duan Ling Tian as if he had transformed into a ferocious tiger that had fiercely pounced off a hill. Whoosh! Duan Ling Xing's body flashed out with incredibly swift speed, as if he had transformed into a gust of wind, and he instantly arrived near Duan Ling Tian. Above him, 12 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. He exerted his full strength the moment he launched his attack. Bang! Duan Ling Xing's palm swept past the sky as the origin energy on it burst forth before crashing down to envelop Duan Ling Tian. This palm strike seemed as if it could suppress everything. Above Duan Ling Xing, another 2 ancient mammoths appeared, and this was precisely the amplification brought about by the grade 8 spirit weapon. That palm strike from Duan Ling Xing contains the strength of 14 ancient mammoths. The pupils of the surrounding students constricted, and their hearts couldn't help but rise to their throats when they saw this. It seemed as if it wasn't Duan Ling Tian that was facing this palm strike but them. Duan Ling Tian didn't dare lightly defend when faced with Duan Ling Xing's palm strike. Instead, his eyes went cold and he took a large stride forward. Spirit Serpent Movement Technique. Duan Ling Tian's body seemed to transform into a flexible spirit serpent as he moved, barely avoiding Duan Ling Xing's palm strike. And above him, 12 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared. 9th level of the core formation stage? Duan Ling Xing's pupils constricted, as never had he imagined that Duan Ling Tian was a 9th level core formation martial artist as well. He suddenly felt as if he had been played. How could this be possible? This little bastard is only 18. How could he be a 9th level core formation martial artist? No. Impossible. Duan Ling Xing's heart was in chaos, as he was unwilling to believe that this was all true. Meanwhile, all of the surrounding spectating students of Paladin Academy were dumbstruck at this instant. This scene was totally unbelievable. This Duan Ling Tian, a mere 18-year-old youth, a grade 1 student, he was actually a 9th level core formation martial artist. What natural talent was this? Wouldn't it be saying that he had a chance to step into the origin core stage before the age of 20? His natural talent even surpasses his father's. The Vice Dean's eyes flashed with a bright light. At this moment, a sense of regret arose within him. If he had known earlier that Duan Ling Tian was a 9th level core formation martial artist, he would surely stop this life and death battle from happening. but unfortunately, the milk had already been spilled. Now he could only hope that Duanling Tian would be able to survive, as he didn't want to see such a genius fall. Duanling Tian is at the 9th level of the core formation stage. Practically at the same time, Xiao Yu, Xiao Sun, and Tian who were shocked as well. As expected, Su Li's pupils constricted as a bitter smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Duanling Tian had obviously concealed most of his strength during their battle the other day. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a match for a single strike from Duanling Tian. Impossible. How could this be possible? Tong Li's face was full of disbelief when she saw this scene. This youth that she hated to the bones was actually a martial artist at the 9th level of the core formation stage. Cousin. Duan Rong's face was ghastly pale, as he suddenly realized that the worry in his heart was not unwarranted. Everyone's reactions practically happened within the blink of an eye. On the martial arts practice ground, even if you're a 9th level core formation martial artist as well, do you think you can dodge my palm strike like this? Duanling Xing's voice emitted incomparable coldness as his descending palm strike that Duanling Tian had just dodged abruptly turned to continue to envelop Duanling Tian. It was as if it wouldn't stop until it annihilated Duanling Tian. Duanling Xing, this sword strike is for Li Xian. Just at this moment, Duanling Tian, whose body flashed and was about to be caught up to by Duanling Xing, suddenly spoke. His voice seemed to come from the depths of hell, as within the icy coldness, his voice was filled with breathtaking, killing intent. Whoosh! Duanling Tian's hand flashed before his waist as he drew his sword. Sword drawing arts. Sword drawing arts was devoted towards speed, accuracy, and ruthlessness. The violet myrtle flexible sword in Duanling Tian's hand flashed out, and 2 more ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared above him in an instant. The strength behind this sword strike was equal to Duanling Xing's palm strike, as both contained the strength of 14 ancient mammoths. Duanling Tian's spirit weapon is a grade 8 spirit weapon as well. The surrounding crowd sounded with waves of exclamations. You think your sword strike is able to injure me? Duanling Xing sneered when he saw Duanling Tian's sword, seeming to transform into a violet bolt of lightning as it flashed towards him, and his hand flipped to slap down towards the body of Duanling Tian's violet myrtle flexible sword. Duanling Tian sneered when he saw Duanling Xing actually trying to stop his violet myrtle flexible sword. Violet myrtle flexible sword twisted in his hand and moved to intercept Duanling Xing's palm strike with the edge of the blade. Duanling Xing's expression turned extremely grim. He dared to slap his palm down upon the body of the blade, but even if he had 10 times more courage, he would still not dare to slap his palm down upon the edge of the blade. Even though he wore a grade 8 spirit weapon on his hand, it would be impossible for it to go head-to-head with a sword that was a grade 8 spirit weapon as well. Do you expect this to work? Duanling Xing sneered, as a solution flashed within his mind. He didn't withdraw his attack, but instead continued to slap his palm down and circulate his defensive martial skill at the same time. A high-grade profound rank defensive martial skill at the perfection stage. Instantly, a defensive chi barrier suffused itself over his gold thread gloves. Then his hand descended down and his palm stretched open before closing, actually directly grasping onto the violet myrtle flexible sword that Duanling Tian swung out. The gold thread gloves were originally extremely tough and tensile, so ordinary blades were unable to cause any damage to it. Now that it was combined with a defensive chi barrier, Duanling Xing was able to forcefully stop Duanling Tian's sword strike, which contained the strength of 14 ancient mammoths, by using the same amount of strength. The strength of the two canceled each other out. Just when the corners of Duanling Xing's mouth emitted a ferocious smile, and he was about to launch an attack against Duanling Tian, an icy cold voice entered his ear. Did you think that this is all I'm capable of? In the next moment, Duanling Xing's pupils constricted. Oh my God! What did I just see? Above Duanling Tian, another ancient mammoth silhouette appeared, and added onto the 14 from before, there was a total of 15 ancient mammoth silhouettes above him. The strength of 15 ancient mammoths. No. Impossible. How could he have a grade 8 spirit weapon? How could this be possible? Duanling Xing's face went gloomy, and his voice was filled with boundless fear. The first thought that appeared in his mind was that the spirit weapon within Duan Ling Tian's hand wasn't a grade 8 spirit weapon, but a grade 7 spirit weapon. After all, a 9th level core formation martial artist could only exert the strength of 15 ancient mammoths when relying upon a grade 7 spirit weapon, as a grade 7 spirit weapon was able to amplify nearly 30% of its user's strength. How could he know that the violet myrtle flexible sword within Duan Ling Tian's wasn't a grade 7 spirit weapon at all? The raging python form of the Nine Dragons War sovereign technique that Duan Ling Tian cultivated allowed him to possess a strength of 12 ancient mammoths once he completed the tempering of his fleshly body for the 4th level of the core formation stage, which was comparable to a 9th level core formation martial artist. And when Duan Ling Tian broke through to the 5th level of the core formation stage yesterday, he gained an extra ancient mammoth. Presently, even if he were to not use a spirit weapon, Duan Ling Tian would still be capable of exerting the strength of 13 ancient mammoths. And if he were to use a spirit weapon, the strength of one more ancient mammoth would be readily available. At nearly the exact same moment, the crowd of spectating Paladin Academy students was dumbstruck. Grade 7 spirit weapon. Oh my god. Duan Ling Tian actually has a grade 7 spirit weapon. Even the Duan clan probably doesn't have many grade 7 spirit weapons. Where did this Duan Ling Tian obtain it? Their thoughts were exactly similar to Duan Ling Xing. They all thought that Duan Ling Tian was relying upon a grade 7 spirit weapon in order to exert the strength of 15 ancient mammoths. Grade 7 spirit weapon? The corners of Xiao Yu's, Xiao Sun's, and Tian, whose mouths twitched and bitter smiles appeared on their faces, as they all felt that Duan Ling Tian had concealed his strength too deeply. Even Su Li's gaze slightly flickered, as slight shock flashed within. How could he possibly have a grade 7 spirit weapon? Tong Li's face was extremely unsightly, and her hand that clenched the black whip grew tighter. Cousin. A sense of sorrow appeared on Duan Rong's face as he witnessed this scene. On the martial arts practice ground, Duan Ling Xing's body trembled as if he had abruptly thought of some dreadful matter. His pupils constricted as his gaze descended upon the violet myrtle flexible sword grasped within Duan Ling Tian's right hand. His heart trembled and was instantly filled with dread as he moved to withdraw his hand. How could Duan Ling Tian know what Duan Ling Xing was thinking when he saw Duan Ling Xing's expression? Duan Ling Tian sneered, and the violet myrtle flexible sword within his hand flashed out as he said, "What? Regret grabbing hold of my sword?" Whoosh! The strength of 15 ancient mammoths completely suppressed the strength of 14 ancient mammoths, and Duan Ling Xing's defensive chi barrier shattered with a crash. Ah! At almost practically the same instant, a shrill cry echoed out from Duan Ling Xing as his palm was split into two. The other half of his palm crashed onto the ground, drenching the ground with blood. Duan Ling Xing's body trembled, and when he once again gazed upon Duan Ling Tian, his eyes were filled with boundless dread. That sword strike was for Li Xian. You probably still remember Li Xian, right? It's that little fatty that used his body to help defend me against your palm strike and saved my life 2 years ago. Duan Ling Tian's icy cold gaze descended upon Duan Ling Xing. That day, if it wasn't for little fatty Li Xian helping him defend against that palm strike, he would have already been killed by Duan Ling Xing, and it would have been impossible for him to still be standing here. He once pledged that he would surely take revenge for Li Xian. Whoosh! Duan Ling Tian's body flashed out as if it had transformed into a spirit serpent and closed in on Duan Ling Xing. Then he waved out his sword to strike once more. How could Duan Ling Xing, who had lost his spirit weapon and been injured, dodge this extremely swift sword strike from Duan Ling Tian? Instantly, Duan Ling Xing emitted another shrill cry. His leg was forcefully sliced off by Duan Ling Tian, and his entire body crashed down onto the ground as it lost its support. His body violently trembled as he struggled with eyes filled with despair. At this moment, he wished so dearly for the scene before him to just be a dream, but unfortunately, the intense pain that he unceasingly felt allowed him to realize that this was no dream, but reality. That sword strike was for Ku Er. You still remember Ku Er, right? That young girl you injured after she swung her sword at you when you tried to kill me. Duanling Tian walked step by step towards Duanling Xing, and within his voice was a breathtaking coldness. The scenes from before flashed before his eyes. That time, he was nearly killed by Duanling Xing. The gray-clothed old man, the vice dean of Paladin Academy, watched this bloody scene but had no intention of interfering. A life and death battle that was upheld by a life and death contract would only end when one party was dead. As the witness of the battle, he had to practice what he preached. Moreover, he had clearly heard and understood that Duanling Xing had once tried to kill Duanling Tian, and he finally came to an understanding as to why Duanling Tian would detest Duanling Xing to such an extent. So it turned out that there was an enmity to the point of life and death between the two of them. So this Duanling Tian and Duanling Xing had long ago formed an irreconcilable enmity. It's no wonder they would go at each other to the death the moment they met. They're both Duan clan direct descendants, but the difference between the two is just too huge. Duanling Tian is merely 18, whereas Duanling Xing seems to be 23 this year. Duanling Tian defeated a direct descendant of his clan who's 5 years older than him, and his natural talent can be considered heaven-defying. As expected of the son of Duan Ru Feng, this Duanling Xing can't even amount to trash in front of him. At this moment, not one Paladin Academy student present felt pity for Duanling Xing. A smile appeared on the faces of Xiao Yu and the others. Duanling Tian had won. Duan Rong's body trembled violently, and his face went ghastly pale as he watched the scene before him. Duanling Tian, I'll surely make you die. Tong Li glanced at the violet-clothed youth in the distance with an icy cold gaze before turning around and leaving. On the martial arts practice ground, with great difficulty, Duanling Xing used his origin energy to stop the blood that was spurting out of his injuries. There was not a trace of redness on his face. It was completely pale. As he gazed at Duanling Tian, who was walking over with a bloody, flexible sword in his hand, Duanling Xing's body trembled and dread and despair appeared on his face. Duanling Tian, you can't kill me. I'm your clan brother. We're both direct descendants of the Duan clan. You can't kill me. Duanling Tian was stunned briefly. When he heard what Duanling Xing said, he burst into laughter. Clan brother? A mocking smile appeared on Duanling Tian's face. 2 years ago, when you tried to kill me in the Fresh Breeze Townley family, did you ever think that I was your clan brother? How about just now, when you desired to kill me, did you think that I was your clan brother? Now that you see that you've lost all your advantages and are at your wits' end, you call yourself my clan brother and hope I'll give you a chance at life. Don't you think it's ridiculous? The violet myrtle flexible sword within Duanling Tian's hand was still dripping blood onto the ground, and wherever it passed, blood drenched the entire ground. After a moment, Duanling Tian arrived before Duanling Xing and slowly lifted the violet myrtle flexible sword. Duanling Xing seemed to realize that Duanling Tian wouldn't buy his nonsense. His face instantly went grim as he shouted, in a fierce voice, Duanling Tian, if you kill me, my father and mother will definitely not let you off. You will undoubtedly die. That cripple? Duanling Tian laughed indifferently. The power that my parents control is far from anything you can imagine, and you wouldn't kill me if you were sensible. Duanling Xing made his last attempt at a struggle before death. However, Duanling Tian was unfazed. This sword strike is for myself? Under Duanling Xing's despaired gaze, the sword within Duanling Tian's grasp whistled down and flashed past Duanling Xing's throat. Splurt. Instantly, blood shot out. Duanling Xing's eyes that were filled with despair were open wide as his body crashed onto the ground. The injuries that he had stopped from bleeding once again flowed with fresh blood. Duanling Xing, dead. Clang. Duanling Tian sheathed his violet myrtle flexible sword. A smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. This was a smile of relief. There hadn't been a moment within this last 2 years that he didn't think about killing Duanling Xing to avenge the enmity of that day. Now, everything had finally ended. Ha 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 ha. Duanling Tian couldn't help but burst out laughing, as he felt extremely delighted in his heart. and the sound of his laughter echoed out throughout the deathly silent martial arts practice ground. Besides the vice dean of Paladin Academy, Xiao Yu, and the others of their group, every other Paladin Academy student gazed at the violet-clothed youth that stood in the distance with gazes filled with terror. This youth was too terrifying. If he was this terrifying at the mere age of 18, once he grows and matures, how heaven-defying will he become? After a moment, Duanling Tian took a deep breath and eased up his excited mood. Then he walked over to Xiao Yu and the others with a wide grin on his face. "Let's go have some food." Everyone was speechless for some time. They all glanced at Duanling Xing's corpse on the martial arts practice ground, and their hearts trembled. This Duanling Tian still has the appetite to eat now? The gray-clothed old man, or in other words, the vice dean of Paladin Academy, gazed at Duanling Tian's disappearing figure. His eyes narrowed and a smile contained appeared on the corners of his mouth. "This little fellow's slightly interesting." Paladin Academy, cafeteria. Duanling Tian's group was sitting at the table, and Duanling Tian was gulping down his food as if what happened earlier didn't affect him in any way. On the other hand, Xiao Yu, Xiao Sun and Tian, who seemed to have lost their appetite, as the bloody scenes from before still flashed before their eyes, and they still found it difficult to toss it out of their minds. Only Suli was similar to Duanling Tian and was not affected in any way. "Duanling Tian, you have concealed your ability too deeply. 9th level of the core formation stage, grade 7 spirit weapon. If it wasn't for the life and death battle between you and Duanling Xing, we probably would still be kept in the dark by you." Tian, who sighed with a bitter smile on his face. Before Duanling Tian, the natural talent that he had so much in pride didn't even amount to trash. But he also knew that he couldn't compare himself with this freak, or else he would only batter himself. "Exactly, even I've been deceived all along." Xiao Yu's gaze focused, and his gaze was extremely complicated. He originally thought that Duanling Tian was only slowly moving further away, and that he still had the chance to catch up to Duanling Tian's figure on the path towards the peak of the martial Tao. But who would have known that Duanling Tian's true strength had long since thrown him far off into the distance, causing him to be only capable of catching sight of Duanling Tian's dust. "What I never would have expected was your identity. You're actually the son of Duan Rufeng, a direct descendant of the Duan clan." Xiao Sun's pupils constricted as he looked at Duanling Tian. He was slightly surprised. "I'm the son of Duan Rufeng, but I have no relationship with the Duan clan." Duanling Tian's gaze focused as he spoke indifferently. He was extremely disdainful of the Duan clan and was unwilling to admit that he was a member of the Duan clan. Xiao Sun was stunned for a moment, then he glanced deeply at Duanling Tian and said no more. He discerned that Duanling Tian had no favorable impression towards the Duan clan. At the same time that Duanling Tian was enjoying his food, Duan Rong had brought along Duanling Xing's mangled body and returned to the Duan clan estate. In the vast courtyard, Duanling Xing lied there. The blood within his body had long since run dry. "Xing!" Tremors ran through the ground as a 300-plus-pound married woman pounced over. Tears flowed down from her small, red eyes, and she was unwilling to believe that this was real. A figure moved like lightning from outside the courtyard. As he swiftly walked in, his voice sounded like explosive thunder. "Son." This was a middle-aged man with an imposing appearance. He was obviously someone who has held a high position for a long period of time. He arrived before the corpse within the courtyard, and his eyes were red as well. Dense hatred was budding within his heart at this moment. "No matter who it is, I'll surely burn your bones and scatter your ashes for killing my son." Duan Ru Lei's voice was filled with a sense of ruthlessness. "Second brother, I heard that Duanling Xing." Another figure dashed into the courtyard and was dumbstruck as he gazed at the corpse on the ground. He was precisely the fourth master of the Duan clan, Duan Ruhong. Before long, 3 old men slowly walked into the courtyard. They were led by a middle-aged man who wore a white robe with gold lining. This middle-aged man had a firm and resolute expression and an extraordinary disposition. Every movement of his emitted overbearing dignity, and his identity was easily discerned. The Duan clan's patriarch, Duan Ru Hua. "Second brother, sister-in-law, You have my condolences. Duan Ruhua sighed as he gazed at Duan Rulei and his wife. Second brother, what happened? Duan Ru Hong had a grim expression and his voice seemed constrained, and within it was a trace of dense fury. I just returned as well. Duan Rulei looked at the fat woman beside him. The fat woman's red eyes focused on Duan Rong, who was standing at the side. It was Duan Rong who brought Xing's body back. Rong, who the hell killed your cousin? Toward the end of that sentence, her voice started trembling, and her eyes emitted a vicious gaze. Instantly, the gazes of everyone within the courtyard descended upon Duan Rong. Duan Rong became the center of attention. His eyes turned, his body trembled, and he said, in a low voice, Auntie, it's Duan Ling Tian. It's Duan Ling Tian who did it. Duan Ling Tian? The fat woman was startled and was unable to react for a moment. What did you say? The Duan clan's fourth master, Duan Ru Hong's face went grim as he looked at Duan Rong with a burning gaze. Which Duan Ling Tian? Duan Ling Tian was a name that wasn't unfamiliar to him. The son of his third brother, Duan Ru Feng, was called Duan Ling Tian as well, and he had met him once 2 years ago when he went out to run some errands with Duan Lingxing and passed by Fresh Breeze Town. The son of Duan Ru Feng, Duan Ling Tian. Duan Rong gnashed his teeth as he spoke. Besides Duan Ru Hong, the other people present were not able to react to the name Duan Ling Tian for some time. But Duan Ru Feng, mention of this name instantly caused the people present to awaken from their daze. Impossible, Duan Ru Hong said, in an icy cold voice. I met Duan Ling Tian 2 years ago, and he was only a body-tempering martial artist at that time. It's only been 2 years. How could he possibly have the strength to kill Ling Xing? Moreover, it's impossible for him to be at the Imperial City right now. Duan Ru Hong obviously didn't believe him. It's true. Seeing that the gazes of everyone present were becoming filled with doubt, Duan Rong hurriedly explained that Duan Ling Tian should be around the age of 18, and he's at Paladin Academy right now. And just a while ago, Duan Rong slowly explained the sequence of events with a trembling voice and a pair of red eyes. Duan Ling Tian, 18 years old, 9th level of the core formation stage, grade 7 spirit weapon. What Duan Rong said caused the hearts of everyone present to tremble, and even Duan Ru Hong's pupils couldn't help but constrict. That youth that was only at the body tempering stage 2 years ago had already become an existence at the core formation stage now? After they confirmed that the person who killed Duan Ling Xing was precisely Duan Ling Tian, a sense of helplessness and bitterness arose within his heart, as both of them were equally important. So it's that little bastard. The fat woman's voice seemed to come from the deepest pits of hell and was bone-piercingly cold. Life and death contract? Why didn't you dissuade Duan Ling Xing at that time? Patriarch Duan Ru Hua's gaze focused onto Duan Rong as he asked this in a low voice. Duan Rong laughed bitterly. I tried, but cousin wouldn't listen to me at all. Moreover, I didn't know that Duan Ling Tian's strength was so formidable. It's really the son of Ru Feng. Ru Feng's son stepped into the 9th level of the core formation stage at the mere age of 18. His natural talent even surpasses Ru Feng's. Patriarch, since Ling Xing was killed after validating the life and death contract, we can only blame Duan Ling Xing for being overconfident in the matter. Besides that Duan Ling Tian is the son of Duan Ru Feng and is a direct descendant of our Duan clan. He should rightfully acknowledge his ancestors and return to the clan. The 3 old men behind Duan Ru Hua, who were also the elders of the Duan clan, spoke out. Within their eyes was a trace of excitement. Since Duan Ling Xing validated the life and death contract, not to mention dying at the hands of Duan Ling Tian, even if he had died by the hand of another, the Duan clan would still have no reason to interfere. Presently, all their thoughts were focused on the one who killed Duan Ling Xing, Duan Ling Tian, as the natural talent in the martial Tao that Duan Ling Tian exhibited caused them to feel excited. That year, everyone within the Duan clan felt that Duan Ru Feng had a chance to become a true void stage expert and to lead the Duan clan to glory, to compete with the imperial family. But unfortunately, Duan Ru Feng vanished later on. Now, years later, the son of Duan Ru Feng appeared, and his natural talent even surpassed Duan Ru Feng's, allowing them to see hope. To them, and to the Duan clan, Duan Ling Tian was their hope. For the sake of the Duan clan, not to mention Duan Ling Tian and Duan Ling Xing had validated a life and death contract before their battle. Even if they didn't, the Duan clan would still not blame Duan Ling Tian for killing Duan Ling Xing. Duan Ling Tian's worth was something 100 Duan Ling Xing's couldn't compare to. In this world where the strong were revered, this was reality, cold, hard reality. This was precisely the brutality of the large clans. If you can bring benefit to the clan, then you're a treasure. If you can't, you're just a bunch of grass. Elders, what's the meaning of this? The fat woman's small eyes flashed when she heard what the three old men said, and said in melancholy, Ling Xing is a direct descendant of the Duan clan. Even if he was careless and validated a life and death contract, that little bastard shouldn't have killed him. Ling Xing is his clan brother. Such a ruthless little bastard should die. If he were to enter the Duan clan, there is no saying what would happen. If the clan is unwilling to interfere in this matter, then I, Yun Ping, will take matters into my own hands. When the fat woman finished speaking, her voice was filled with bone-deep coldness. The three old men's expressions went grim. This woman dared to refute them? Even the Duan clan's patriarch, Duan Ruhua's, expression sank at this moment. He shouted in a low voice, "Sister-in-law, you're too presumptuous." At this moment, the thoughts in the heart of Duan Ruhua was similar to the three elders' thoughts, as he was the Duan clan's patriarch and needed to think for the Duan clan. Slap. Suddenly, the sound of a slap resounded in the air. It was Duan Rulei who given the fat woman, his wife, Yun Ping, a slap. You hit me?" Yun Ping was stunned. Her son had died, and all she had said were some words from her heart, but her husband had actually hit her. "Yes, I hit you, you ignorant woman." Duan Rulei raised his hand and gave Yun Ping another slap. Only now did he respectfully look at Duan Ruhua and the three old men. "Patriarch, three elders, this matter was something my son brought upon himself, and there's no one else to be blamed for it. Duan Rulei knows what should be done and what shouldn't. I hope Patriarch and the three elders can be at ease." "Not bad, Rulei. For once you see the bigger picture." The three elders nodded in satisfaction. Only Patriarch Duan Ruhua's pupils constricted as he glanced deeply at Duan Rulei. "Second brother, I hope you are true to your word. If you're not, I'll be disappointed, and the clan will be disappointed as well." Duan Rulei's body trembled as he hurriedly said, "Yes, Patriarch." "Fourth brother, you'll be in charge of bringing that kid Ling Tian back to the clan. He's suffered too much hardships outside of the clan, and the Duan clan will properly compensate him." Duan Ruhua looked at Duan Ruhong as he slowly spoke. "Yes, Patriarch." Duan Ruhong hurriedly accepted his orders, and he sighed in his heart because he knew that Duan Ling Xing had died for no reason. Duan Rong was completely muddle-headed as he watched the Duan clan's patriarch and the elders leave one by one. This matter had come to an end just like this? Second brother, second sister-in-law, the outcome was inevitable. You have my condolences. Duan Ruhong consoled Duan Rulei and his wife before walking off in swift strides. "You're really not taking revenge for our son?" After noticing the outsiders leaving, the fat woman's small eyes became filled with a bloody redness as she looked at her husband and spoke in a cold voice. "Ignorant woman." Duan Rulei coldly swept the married woman with his gaze before glancing at Duan Rong. "Rong, you return first. Remember, under no circumstances are you to provoke that Duan Ling Tian." "Yes, uncle." Duan Rong had a bitter expression on his face as he replied and left. "Duan Rulei, let me tell you that if you don't take revenge for our son, I'll go back to my clan today." The fat woman's pair of small eyes were filled with a breathtaking coldness as she coldly spoke. Although her clan was inferior to the Duan clan, as far as she was concerned, it was still more than enough to kill Duan Ling Tian. Do you think Xing is only your son? The hatred within my heart isn't one bit weaker than yours. You saw the attitude of the patriarch and the three elders. If I were to be struck dazed by the hatred within me, I can imagine how the clan will try every means possible to revoke my authority for the sake of protecting Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ru Lei's voice was chilly and revealed a dense coldness hidden within. I hit you earlier because I was putting up a show in front of the patriarch and the three elders to make them put down their guard against me. Only then would I be able to let them be at ease. In this way, I'll have the chance to secretly find a way to kill that little bastard. Hearing what he said caused the eyes of the fat woman to shine, and her face emitted an ashamed expression. Duan Ru Feng crippled my Dantian that day and caused my life to be no better than death. Now that his son has killed mine, old accounts and new combined, I must burn that Duan Ling Tian's bones and scatter his ashes. Duan Ru Lei's voice was mixed with a shocking coldness of the highest degree. Since noon, Paladin Academy was bustling with activity and noise for the entire afternoon, as the news of today's life and death battle had spread across the academy. Duan Ling Tian, the son of the Duan clan's former peerless genius, Duan Ru Feng, exhibited a strength at the 9th level of the core formation stage at the mere age of 18 and annihilated Duan Ling Xing of the same clan. Duan Ling Tian, a grade 1 student, easily slaughtered a grade 4 student. All of Paladin Academy was alarmed. The news slowly spread out from the Paladin Academy, so it probably wouldn't be too long before everyone within the entire Imperial City's inner city, and even the Imperial City's outer city, heard of this shocking piece of news. Another peerless genius had appeared within the Duan clan. However, Duan Ling Tian, who was the main party in the news, was presently lazily lying on a large tree at the corner of the martial arts practice ground. His eyes were narrow as he enjoyed the sunlight that passed through the leaves and shined on his body. Xiao Yu and Xiao Sun were discussing the martial Dao and sparring with others not far away. Some of the grade 1 students who were in the Star Mastermind department with Duan Ling Tian would occasionally glance at him with eyes that emitted a trace of fear. Although they had felt that this youth wasn't simple, they never expected him to be so ferocious. Moreover, his identity was shocking. Teacher Sima. Suddenly, a middle-aged man who was wearing a silk headdress and held a feather fan arrived at the corner where the grade 1 Star Mastermind department students were, and the group of students respectfully bowed. Teacher. Duan Ling Tian only reacted when he noticed that Sima Changfeng had arrived before him. Whoosh! Sima Changfeng's leg jerked and a gentle force sprang him up before descending on the tree beside Duan Ling Tian. The tree only slightly shook before coming to a stop. Duan Ling Tian's gaze shone when he saw this. This was something no ordinary person was capable of, and obviously this grade 1 Star Mastermind department teacher's strength was extraordinary. Moreover, Duan Ling Tian noticed that Sima Changfeng's aura was reserved, so even he wasn't able to see through the approximate level at which Sima Changfeng's cultivation was at when relying upon the experience and formidable spiritual force of the Rebirth Martial Emperor. Why did you say you weren't a member of the Duan clan the other day? Sima Changfeng glanced deeply at Duan Ling Tian. He obviously had heard of the matter that took place at noon. I only found out about my origin 2 years ago. I only know that ever since I could remember, my mother and I relied on each other to survive. I knew virtually nothing of any Duan clan, nor did I receive any kindness from the Duan clan. I have never once considered myself to be a member of the Duan clan. Not in the past, not now, and not in the future. Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled. So what I said was the truth. Sima Changfeng shook his head. The blood of the Duan clan flows within you, after all. So what? Duan Ling Tian didn't confirm nor deny it. I can't change my birth, but my future path is controlled with my own 2 hands, and no one is able to stop me. Teacher, I wonder what relationship you have with the Duan clan to actually be an emissary for them. As he finished speaking, Duan Ling Tian deeply glanced at Sima Changfeng. His gaze that was filled with wisdom was definitely not something a youth should possess. Kid, you are really a sly little fox. Sima Changfeng didn't get angry from being seen through by Duan Ling Tian. I don't have any relationship with the Duan clan. However, the Duan clan's 4th master, Duan Ru Hong, is a good friend of mine, and I'm precisely here on his behalf. The Duan clan's 4th master? Duan Ling Tian's eyes constricted. He couldn't help but recall that day in Fresh Breeze Town when he met the middle-aged man with extraordinary bearing that his mother asked him to call fourth uncle. He is Duan Ruhong? After a moment, Duan Ling Tian returned to his senses, then he looked at Sima Changfeng. Teacher, then please send a message to Duan Ruhong for me. I, Duan Ling Tian, was no longer a member of the Duan clan since the moment I left the Duan clan with my mother. Sima Changfeng was slightly moved. Duan Ling Tian, this matter can be a minor or major incident, so you have to consider things carefully. Teacher, you're worried that the Duan clan will pursue the matter of Duan Ling Xing the moment I refuse? Duan Ling Tian asked with a laugh. The life and death battle between you and Duan Ling Xing was held after the validation of a life and death contract, so the Duan clan has no reason to interfere. However, your decision will undoubtedly place you in danger. The father of Duan Ling Xing, the Duan clan's second master, Duan Rulei, is no simple figure. If you return to the Duan clan, it will be akin to another layer of protection, and that Duan Rulei won't dare act rashly. Sima Changfeng spoke with confidence and went straight to the heart of the matter. Thank you for your concern, teacher, but I've made my decision. Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled. He could feel Sima Changfeng's heartfelt concerns, and his heart felt warm. However, Emir Duan Rulei was still incapable of forcing him back to the Duan clan. It would fine and well if that Duan Rulei didn't come provoke him. If he were to come, then Duan Ling Tian wouldn't mind making a cripple into a dead man. As he thought up to this point, a trace of a terrifying cold light flashed within Duan Ling Tian's eyes. Since you've come to a decision, then I will say no more. Sima Changfeng nodded. He was a smart person and knew that if he were to continue trying to persuade Duan Ling Tian, it would only lead to aversion from him. Before long, as if he had thought of something, Sima Changfeng changed the topic. There's another matter. The current political situation in the western border is in unrest, and it's very possible that a war might break out. At that time, once the war breaks out, our Paladin Academy will send some students as reinforcements, and the first ones to be considered will be our Star Mastermind Department students. If it really comes to that, are you interested in going? Once you serve a meritorious service, you will be conferred a title of nobility by the imperial family and be able to soar into the sky in one go. Duan Ling Tian's eyes shone as he nodded. If I really have the chance, then I do want to go experience it. As a weapons specialist that had crossed over to this world from Earth, Duan Ling Tian's bones were filled with hot blood. The places he yearned for the most were the battlefields of past and present, where armies would fight against each other and a general would become renowned over the corpses of 10,000 soldiers. That was the true battlefield that belonged to iron-blooded men. A gale rose and swept the clouds across the sky, and a hero rode out and was gone with the wind. What a lofty sentiment and aspiration that was. It's good that you're interested. Sima Changfeng nodded with a smile before flying off the tree, waving his feather fan and leaving in an elegant manner. After Sima Changfeng left, Duan Ling Tian sat up, closed his eyes, and started cultivating. 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, Raging Python Form. The 5th level core formation stage origin energy within his body unceasingly poured out and gathered in every spot within his body. It started to temper his fleshly body and strengthen his lifeblood. After an afternoon of time, his progress was next to nothing. If I continue at this speed, I might still be at the core formation stage when Ku Er and Li Fei step into the origin core stage. A trace of bitterness appeared on the corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth. There were times when the slow advancements of the raging python form caused him a headache. Although his current strength was considered outstanding among his peers, the potential threats that he currently faced weren't from his peers. Even though he could rely on his inscriptions, that wasn't his own strength. It was all right to use them occasionally, but if he were to use them frequently, he wouldn't be able to afford to keep making more. Although I can refine the dragon blood pill that is within the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, and the other materials are only ordinary, where am I to get the main material, dragon blood? Duan Ling Tian was extremely frustrated. According to the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, if he were to have dragon blood pills to assist him as he cultivated the raging python form, then it would provide him a yield of twice the result with half the effort. Once he consumes a dragon blood pill, Its medicinal strength will be able to instantly assist him in completing the tempering of his fleshly body at every level. In other words, if he had dragon blood pills, Duanling Tian would be able to directly charge towards the next cultivation level like an ordinary core formation martial artist and wouldn't need to care about the tempering of his fleshly body. The medicinal strength of the dragon blood pill would be able to instantly complete the tempering of the fleshly body. This way, his cultivation speed would obtain a huge increase, as he wouldn't have to spend so much time tempering his fleshly body. At that time, it wouldn't be impossible for him to catch up to the cultivation levels of Li Fei and Ku Er. Dragon Blood Pill, Dragon Blood. According to the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, even the weakest dragon, the Flood Dragon, is a demon beast at the void prying stage. Even if I were to really encounter one, how would I obtain its blood? Duanling Tian felt his headache. Just at this moment, hiss hiss, the little black python stuck its head out from inside Duanling Tian's sleeve. It stared at Duanling Tian as it flicked its tongue, and its small eyes spun about. What did you come out for? You aren't a dragon. Duanling Tian angrily glared at Little Black. However, when his gaze descended upon the single horn that had completely revealed itself atop the little black python's head, his gaze abruptly shone. Maybe, according to the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, a dragon is the evolved form of a flood dragon, and a flood dragon is the evolved form of a python. Once there is a bulge atop the head of a python, it means that it has started its evolution into a flood dragon, and when the bulge opens to reveal a dragon's horn, then it will have completed its evolution into a flood dragon. Although the flood dragon is still slightly inferior to a true dragon, half-dragon blood still flows within its veins. Half-dragon blood was still dragon blood, and it satisfied the requirements to refine the dragon blood pill. This little fellow used to have a bulge atop his head, and it later opened up to reveal this sharp, golden, single horn. If it's according to the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, this little fellow isn't a pure python anymore but a flood dragon. Duanling Tian stared at Little Black with a burning gaze. He wished for nothing more than to extract blood from him right now. Hiss hiss, Little Black seemed to have perceived danger from Duanling Tian's gaze, so it flicked its tongue a few times before transforming into a bolt of lightning and scurrying back into Duanling Tian's sleeve. Little Black, don't even think of running. I've decided that I'll extract blood from you tonight. If your blood can really refine the dragon blood pill, I'll surely get you tasty things to eat. Duanling Tian extended his hand and pulled Little Black out. An evil smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Hiss hiss, Little Black struggled unceasingly. At dusk, Duanling Tian, Xiao Yu, and Xiao Sun walked out of Paladin Academy. After they parted ways, he returned directly home. After ordering Xiong Quan to purchase the remaining medicinal materials required for the dragon blood pill, Duanling Tian caught a hold of the little black python that tried to escape. Scoundrel, what did you do to Little Black? Why is he so afraid of you? Li Fei was stunned when she saw the scene. Ku Er looked at Duanling Tian as well. She noticed that the little white python that was coiled around her hand seemed to have noticed something, as its body started to tremble lightly. I'll tell you later. Duanling Tian smiled mysteriously before he carried off Little Black into his room. Duanling Tian held Little Black in one hand and withdrew his violet myrtle flexible sword with the other, exuding a bearing that seemed like he was sharpening the knife to start the slaughter. Hiss hiss, a trace of terror appeared within Little Black's eyes. Little Black, be good. I just need a little blood. Duanling Tian calmed him in a low voice. Under Duanling Tian's calming, the restless little black python slowly settled down. Meanwhile, the violet myrtle flexible sword in Duanling Tian's hand transformed into a sword light as it flashed towards the little python's body. Clang! Unexpectedly, it was unable to leave even a mark on the little black python's body. Duanling Tian was stunned. Never had he imagined that the little black python's defense was so formidable. Duanling Tian slowly increased the strength he used. In the end, he shockingly realized that even if he were to use the strength of 15 ancient mammoths, he actually wouldn't have any way of breaking through Little Black's defense. He gave up. You really are a little freak. With such strong defense, How am I supposed to extract blood from you? Duan Ling Tian had a bitter smile and a face full of helplessness. Just when he was thinking about asking Xiong Quan to help, the little black python turned its eyes to meet Duan Ling Tian's gaze before lightly nodding and biting its own tail. Instantly, drops of golden blood dripped downwards. Duan Ling Tian didn't hesitate. He hurriedly moved over the small bottle that he had prepared earlier and collected all the golden blood. After a short moment, the wound on Little Black's tail healed as if it was never wounded in the first place. However, Little Black's spirit seemed to be extremely exhausted, so it fell asleep instantly. Was it too much? Shaking the golden blood within the small bottle, the corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth had a trace of a bitter smile because he felt guilty in his heart. I hope it works, or else Little Black will have suffered for nothing. Duan Ling Tian sighed as he withdrew his pill cauldron and started refining the dragon blood pill. The dragon blood pill wasn't difficult to refine. The first step was to completely refine and dissolve all the other ordinary medicinal materials. This step only required an hour. After an hour, Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath. As his eyes gleamed with anticipation, he withdrew a drop of golden blood from the small bottle and dripped it into the cauldron. Duan Ling Tian watched with utmost concentration. Bang! Suddenly, a loud sound echoed out from within the cauldron, and it started to tremble. Duan Ling Tian's face went grim as he extended his hand to fiercely pin the cauldron down. The cauldron trembled unceasingly for an entire 10 minutes or so before finally stopping. What's going on? Duan Ling Tian was slightly perturbed. Even he didn't know if the dragon blood pill was refined successfully. Whoosh! A low sound of something whistling through the wind sounded in his ears. Duan Ling Tian's hand flashed out to directly grab onto the medicinal pill that flew out of the cauldron. He opened his hand to look. This was a medicinal pill that flashed with a golden luster, and even its looks were extraordinary. This is the dragon blood pill? Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath before opening his mouth and consuming the dragon blood pill. As it entered his body, Duan Ling Tian noticed the dragon blood pill splitting into two types of medicinal effects. One of the effects concealed itself within his dantian, and the other drew out the origin energy within his dantian and inserted it into every part of his body. When the medicinal strength disappeared, he could clearly feel that his body tempering for the 5th level of the core formation stage had been completed. He lightly clenched his fist. Whoosh! 14 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form above Duan Ling Tian. Compared to before, he had gained an extra strength of 1 ancient mammoth. It's a success. In the future, I can finally cultivate like a normal core formation martial artist. The other medicinal effect that the dragon blood pill divided itself into, why is it still within my dantian? Duan Ling Tian examined his dantian and noticed that the medicinal effect seemed to be akin to something that had entered his body and was difficult to remove. This medicinal effect had stopped within his dantian and refused to leave. There's no information about such circumstances within the memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor. Could it be because of Little Black's golden blood? I don't feel it acting up, so I'll leave it be. Duan Ling Tian frowned for a moment before easing up and paid no attention to it anymore. Duan Ling Tian continued to cultivate the 9 Dragon War Sovereign technique after he closed his eyes. He was charging towards the 6th level of the core formation stage. Duan Ling Tian, however, wasn't aware that at this very moment, the news of his origin and him killing Duan Ling Xing had spread all over the imperial city. No matter whether it was the restaurants of the inner or outer city, they were all filled with discussions about him. Tian. Li Ro's voice sounded from outside his door, causing Duan Ling Tian to be jolted awake from his cultivation. Mom, is something the matter? Duan Ling Tian spoke as he moved to open the door. What he saw was his mother stand before the door, and her incomparably beautiful face had an indistinct trace of fury. Mom, what's wrong? Duan Ling Tian's heart jerked. Are the news that are spreading outside true? You killed your second uncle's son? Li Ro's voice was low, as she was intentionally suppressing her fury. If it wasn't for her overhearing the discussion of the 2 servant girls in the house, she, who had not left the house, would have been completely unaware of the news that spread and gave rise to much discussion in the imperial city. The Duan clan's Duan Rufeng's son, Duan Ling Tian, killed his clan brother, Duan Ling Xing. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded, as he didn't plan on concealing the truth. Why? Li Ro's voice was filled with fury. That's the son of your second uncle, your clan brother. Mom, come in and have a seat. Duan Ling Tian brought his mother into the room and asked her to sit down. Only then did he slowly say, Mom, even if you were even more furious about this matter, I still wouldn't regret it. Could it be that you've forgotten how Li Xian was nearly killed by him that day? Li Xian blocked that palm strike for me, and if it wasn't for Li Xian, I would have been killed by Duan Ling Xing that day. This time, if it wasn't for his desire to kill me, he wouldn't have validated the life and death contract. He felt that he would undoubtedly win, so he agreed to my life and death battle challenge. He wanted to kill me. Could it be that I couldn't kill him? Duan Ling Tian's voice was firm and tenacious. Li Ro's expression started to ease up as she heard what Duan Ling Tian said, then she sighed. Even if he had done more wrong, for the sake of your father, why not spare his life? Your father crippled his father's dantian that year and caused his father to be unable to condense origin energy again for his entire life. Mom, you're extremely clear on what happened that year. If it wasn't for Duan Ru Lei being overbearing, why else would father have crippled his dantian? Moreover, that Duan Ru Lei isn't a good person. For the sake of his nephew, he sent 2 9th-level Origin Core martial artists to kill me yesterday. After he finished speaking, Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed with a terrifying coldness. What? Li Ro's face went grim. That Duan Ru Lei sent people to kill you? Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded, then he slowly spoke of the conflict between him and Duan Rong, as well as the following events. Mom, I know you've been feeling guilty in father's stead, but that Duan Ru Lei doesn't think of it that way. Their entire family wishes for nothing more than to tear me to pieces, and I just made the first move. Never mind. Never mind. Li Ro shook her head and sighed. It's mother who wrongly blamed you today. However, you must be careful no matter what you do in the future. Besides that, those 2 fiancés of yours aren't weaklings. Li Ro still remembered that after her husband vanished, the people that targeted her were practically all put up to it by Duan Ru Lei's wife, Yun Ping. After finding out about that, it was precisely because she was worried that Yun Ping would harm Duan Ling Tian that she left the Duan clan. Mom, don't worry. Duan Ling Tian nodded with a smile. When have you seen me do something I'm not confident in? Li Ro extended her hand to brush Duan Ling Tian's face. Her clear eyes contained a complicated expression. Ever since you were heavily injured by Li Xian, Mother noticed that you changed a lot. Sometimes, Mother even feels that you've become unfamiliar. However, no matter how you change, you'll always be Mother's son. Your devotion to Mother has never faltered. Mother is proud. Halfway into Li Ro's speech, Duan Ling Tian's heart jerked. Only after Li Ro finished speaking did he heave a sigh of relief. Mom, no matter when, I'll always be your son. A son you can be proud of. Duan Ling Tian said, with a serious expression. Mother believes in you. Li Ro lightly nodded, and a heartfelt smile appeared on her face.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.